Well, first of all, this is going to be a learning year for us, for myself and our coaching staff, plus our players. We know we're coming into a great conference. We know it's the highest RPI conference. We understand they won the national championship the last 2 years. We understand that 70% of the teams in the conference went postseason. Those things we do understand, but it's still going to be a learning year for us. I'm always asked, what do you think about going to Big 12? And I always tell them, let me tell you this time next year what I think about going to it. So, it's just going to be a learning process between the travel and the teams you're playing, the new arenas and those type of things. But we're very excited. We're very excited about being in the Big 12, and I know our players are, and it'll be a new challenge for our program.
Okay, we got a question. Stephen, you had a question. Yeah.
Stephen Hawkins with the AP. Mike, you got a sense of what it's like at Baylor in the regional a couple of years ago, but just talk in general. I mean, you're supposed to get an easier conference. You leave the Big East with UConn and Notre Dame, and now you're in this one. Is there any comparison to the two, and what was your experience like at Baylor that you'll remember?
Well, I'm really trying to forget that experience, to be honest with you, at Baylor. Great team, great atmosphere. That's the other thing. To me, when I compare, you play everybody twice, home and away. I think that's unlike what we did in the Big East. The crowds, they lead the country and crowd attendance. That's going to be big. And you all play in the same arenas, like the men and women play in the same arenas. So, that's going to be different for us. We're in the Big East. Sometimes we played on arenas on campus, and sometimes the crowds were not that big. When you got to Connecticut, Notre Dame, and Louisville, and those teams, you had great crowds, but not all the teams. We're in the Big 12. We're going to face that night in, night out on the road. But, we understand that, and, you're exactly right. We get away from Connecticut. Now we're going to play Baylor and Oklahoma and Texas and all these schools. It's just a great league. From top to bottom, like I said earlier, it's the number one RPI league in the country.
Got a question in the middle, and then we'll move to the outside.
Mike, Tim Griffin with the San Antonio Express News. Obviously, you're familiar with the tournament being split between men and women. I guess the Big East, it was played in Connecticut, correct?
Yeah.
Just talk about your thoughts about what that did for the women's game by having it separate. This is the first time it's going to be done down here where men and women are apart.
Well, I thought it was great. I really did. Now, we played at Hartford. Connecticut plays half their games at Hartford. But it was great crowds because of Connecticut. I think the Big East at that time, over the last couple of years, the crowds were great in postseason at the tournament play, and mostly because of Connecticut fans. But, it was a great atmosphere. It was a great tournament, and I understand this is going to be a great tournament. It's just, there's a lot of surprises always at tournament play, and I expect this will be the same. Yeah, I don't think anybody plays half their games here on this court. So, I think it'll be a little bit more neutral.
Far outside left.
Todd Murray, Dominion Post. Mike, how have the players responded in practice the last few weeks, especially after Asia went down? And obviously we'll be asking more of Yaya this year. How is all that coming together as you're nearing the season?
Yeah, it's never a good time to have a player go down. Asia Bussey was, our leading scorer returning, our leading shot blocker, our second leading rebounder, gave us size. But, she went down in the second day of practice. And it's never good for that to happen, but at least, it happened early. And the players have been able to respond and learn new roles. And, where a lot of times we counted on Asia to do a lot of things, now somebody else has to pick that up. And since it was early, we're starting to learn roles. Our guards are being more aggressive. Yaya Dunning's, like you said, Todd, has to pick up some of the slack, and other players on the team.
Question in the middle.
Chuck Carlton, Dallas Morning News. In that same vein, though, you know, Asia gave you a lot of size. This is a conference where there's an awful lot of size, you know, because teams have just tried to recruit size to match up with Brittany Griner. What kind of challenge is it going forward in a league where you have so many talented post players?
Well, it is. You know, we felt good about coming in this year with our size and veterans in the post. You know, but things like that happen. And, you know, we have to move forward. We're very positive. We think players have picked up the slack. You know, comparison between the Big East and the Big 12 personnel-wise, I think the Big 12 is a lot bigger, where, you know, you had 2 or 3 big post players in the Big East, where here you may have 2 or 3 on each team. But, you know, we have to do what we do. We're going to get out and run. We're going to use our quickness. We're going to defend. And, you know, we just got to keep people off the board. We're not going to be as big as some of these teams in the Big 12. But yet, you know, I always look at it both ways. If we're not as big, they have to guard us on the other end also. And hopefully we can pull some of the big players out from the paint and so we can be effective at times also.
Got a question on the left center. This will be the final question for Coach.
Mike, we talked a little bit with Bob last week up in Kansas City, but I just wonder if you could describe how difficult this league is in a travel basis for you guys as far as having to bounce back and forth from West Virginia on the round-robin schedule.
Well, first of all, you know, the best thing is, you know, our administration provides charters for us. I mean, that's big for us not to have to go commercial and you know, because you're going to spend a lot of time in the airport. You know, it is going to be farther. It is going to be longer. But that's part of adjusting to the Big 12. And, you know, we have to be smart about it. We have to make sure, you know, we'll bring our academic people with us. You know, we're just going to get back a little later. And sometimes that'll be an hour later than what we normally would. But, you know, we traveled in the Big East also. And, you know, we're not going to use that for a reason, not to be ready to play. We're looking forward to the league. Everything's positive. You know, nothing's negative, and this is going to be a learning experience for us this first year.